There came a point in my life where somebody said to me, you can't hide behind a screen for the rest of your life. You got to go out and look people in the eye. And we ended up dragging an orchestra and a choir out to Coachella and doing Lion King live. And there was an energy about doing it as a performance and doing it live in that way that moved Jon, and actually, to be really honest, it moved me too, because it was great seeing all these amazing musicians really playing it as a piece, as music, as opposed to, oh, we got to do it, we have to be specific about a film cue. So I said to Jon, why don't we do it like this? Why don't we get all the greatest players, get my band, get the greatest players in the world, make a new orchestra here in Los Angeles, rehearse them for 2 days, and then really make it as if it was a concert. And we invited all the filmmakers that never get to come to the scoring sessions, the DP and the editors and everybody. Got them into the room, sat them in front of the orchestra, so the orchestra knew there was a bit of, they had to live up to something here. And we just went for it. But I mean, one of the things, if you want to talk about nuance, the nuance comes from the very, very, very beginning and the very first idea, which was, I wanted to make a Disney movie that started off with a voice from Africa and the black. And that is really my friend Lebo M here. That something shifted, that everything shifted over into this continent. And with this voice, I would invite you on a journey. That's all I was trying to do. Just, come along and feel this other continent. And don't ever forget this continent.
I'm gonna start with you, Jon, though, really, really quickly. I do wanna mention this part. I know the reason why you came back to The Lion King especially was because you felt you cracked the code in the Jungle Book. So what did you crack in the Jungle Book?
Well, Jungle Book, I've been working on both these movies back to back for about 6 years. And all the new technology that was available, I had finally learned how to use it by the end of Jungle Book. And at that point, with the team that we had assembled for it, all the artists, because a lot of attention is paid to the technology, but really these are handmade films. There's animators working on every shot, every environment that you see in the film, other than actually there's one shot that's a real photographic shot, but everything else is built from scratch by artists. And we had a great team assembled, and then the idea of using what we learned on that and the new technologies that were available to make a story like Lion King with its great music, great characters, and great story seemed like a really wonderful, logical conclusion. And so that was something we set out to do.
Yeah, I heard your son was very excited to just be able to see it. What did you tell him going into it? You're like, just so you know, Daddy's Simba.
I didn't tell him anything. I really didn't. It's his favorite movie. So I was like, oh, I'll just wait until he gets there. But somehow he found out about it, but still didn't know I was in it. He was just like, oh, the one with Beyonce. And then during the movie, he's like, oh, Dad's in it too. This is great. Bonus,
Aw, even your son, you're upstaged by Beyonce. That's fitting, yeah.
Fair.
Chiwetel, this Scar is way more similar, I think, to the stage version of Scar, and I think that's kind of amazing because we get to see more of why Scar is Scar. And I just want to know, was that what drove you to him? The fact that you get to show, he's not just a villain. I felt a little sympathy for Scar for a minute.
Oh, good. You're weird, but good.
I mean, for a minute. I didn't love him.
I felt that, it was just really interesting to go into that psychology, to really sort of try and uncover that and to look at it. I'm a huge fan of what was done before, obviously, like everybody else, Jeremy Irons, and just sort of really just going back in and exploring that character again from a slightly different perspective and seeing what was there, and it's such an incredible part to play. And so complex and all of that. And, having empathy, not sympathy, but empathizing with the character and trying to understand them and trying to get underneath that, and such a rich, villainous character to play. So a wonderful experience for me.
And I think, Alfre, with your character, she's kind of the Helen of Troy of The Lion King in a lot of ways. And we get to kind of experience that for the first time in this film, at least in the film version, because Jon, that came from the stage play as well, right? Yeah. So tell us about it.
It is called The Lion King, but everyone knows that the lionesses are actually the rulers, the protectors, the nurturers, the hunters of the pride. And so Jon was able to give us the space to be that. One of the first encounters I had with wildlife was maybe almost 40 years ago in a conserve, and it was happening upon the lionesses, and you could hear the king in the distance. He was coming, but they were sitting and we were a little close to them, and I've never felt more afraid and more attracted at the same time. I realize, I think that is the mother thing in most women and in some men, is that, at the same time you suckle, but you also, you will eliminate anything that comes close to endangering those cubs. So I just sat in that and I did whatever Jon told me to do.